Hi, thanks for watching. My name is Alan Lenczycki, your dry erase attorney, and here we are on Law JTLG's YouTube channel. I want to talk about a couple of things pertaining to the subject of divorce. So in Illinois, nobody plans on getting divorced when they get married, or almost nobody plans on getting divorced when they get married, but it's something that happens to regular people all the time. We want to talk about some of the different considerations that you've got to keep in mind when you're thinking about hiring a divorce attorney and what the divorce process looks like. The first thing to do is, once you've made the decision, will I get a divorce? Is this big life change coming, and are we really doing that? You've got to think about, do I need a lawyer? Okay, so counsel in a case is extremely important. I would generally recommend that, yes, you do need a lawyer in a divorce case. Not only because I'm a lawyer, and if I was a shoe salesman, I'd say you need shoes, but it's because it's a super big, important legal decision that's actually a financial and family decision. It's this giant thing that, I don't know, could you make a more important decision than your divorce? Maybe, arguably, cancer care perhaps, but a divorce case is so important to a regular person. It talks about, what are we doing with our kids? What are we doing with our home? What are we doing with our paychecks? How are we going to interact with each other? It's just such an important thing that you need legal advice. Now, what do you do if you can't afford a lawyer? Well, it's the same thing I tell people when they can't afford, a house painter. If you want your house painted and you can't afford somebody to do it for you, you've got to paint your own house. And that's the same thing with a divorce. If you can't hire a lawyer because you're financially strapped, and lawyers can cost between $3,000, $5,000 down as initial retainer. Some of them are much more. Some lawyers could be $10,000 down as initial retainer. And then as the case goes on, they bill against the case hourly. So it can grow. Your bill can grow and grow until you earn a $20,000 divorce sometimes more. A cheap divorce, I'd say, would be $3,000. An expensive one, $20,000 plus. Okay, and they can last a year or more. But anyway, if you can't do that yourself, if you can't hire a lawyer, you can't afford one, or you know that you're not going to be able to, you've got to do it yourself. So if you can't hire a lawyer, okay, which you need one, then you're going to have to do the courthouse. And you're pro se. Okay, so if you can't hire a lawyer, the courthouse in Lake County at least will be able to help you. You go to the clerk's office, you go downstairs and say, can you show me the documents that I need to file my own petition for dissolution? You would serve that upon your ex, or talk to your ex, maybe at a nice breakfast table discussion if you can, and figure out, what are we going to do with our situation? The easiest, the best divorces are the ones where people talk to each other, where the husband and wife, husband, whatever we're doing, are going to be able to communicate and say, how are we going to handle this case? How are we going to divide up our money? How are we going to interact with each other? And what are we, most importantly, going to do with our kids? Where are they going to live? And who's going to make the decisions about them? When is the other parent, who's not the custodial parent, going to have parenting time? So after you decide those really important issues of, I guess, do I have the money for a lawyer, and who am I going to hire? Or if I don't have the money for a lawyer, what am I going to do? You've got to actually put together a couple of different documents in the divorce. Now, you get the divorce started with a petition for dissolution. Okay, a petition for dissolution. You can find the form in Lake County, Illinois. This video is done April 20th of 2022. You can find that on the Lake County Circuit Clerk's website. A lot of helpful forms are there. I do it there myself, even though I'm a lawyer and have got my own forms. I still look at the Lake County Circuit Clerk's website to find some of those helpful forms, and you should too, especially if you're pro se. But anyway, you need a petition for dissolution of marriage, and then you've got to get that to your ex. They'll usually file their own appearance, and then everybody's paid their quarter into the machine. Then you can start the fun process of actually getting the divorce. And during the divorce, you need 3 documents. Okay, you need a judgment for dissolution. Okay, this petition starts it. The judgment for dissolution ends it. And that's the document that the lawyers are going to be working on if you're working with a lawyer for months or a year, trying to bang out different versions of the document until we can agree on what we're going to do. Okay, that's the goal of a divorce case, is to get the parties to agree what they're going to do, and they can sign the documents together. The judgment for dissolution ends the divorce. It's the thing that the judge signs at the end of the case that terminates the marriage, that dissolves the marriage. Associated with that judgment for dissolution, you often need a marital settlement agreement and a parenting plan. That depends, okay? A marital settlement agreement isn't always required. Sometimes the judgment for dissolution of marriage is good enough to terminate the marriage on its own. But sometimes, very often, when a middle class or upper middle class family gets divorced, those people need a marital settlement agreement. And that can be included in the court file or just not included in the court file and kept secret, but referred to in the judgment for dissolution of marriage. Okay, that's a complex issue, but you're going to talk to your attorney about that. Anyway, the marital settlement agreement decides, I'm going to take this over here, what we're doing with money, okay, what we're doing with property. Okay, so money and property are dealt with in the marital settlement agreement. And we're going to talk about in subsequent videos things like maintenance, spousal support. We used to call this alimony, okay? We can talk about child support too. That's something that's dealt with in the marital settlement agreement. Who's going to pay for Billy to go to college, okay? Who's going to take our house? What are we going to do with the house? Are we going to sell the house? Somebody going to refinance the house? Are we going to split the money? And how? All those things are dealt with in the MSA. And it's a really important part of the divorce process. And that's why some divorces take a long time. I don't want to pay. Okay? Nobody wants to pay. Okay? But if that's your legal obligation, you might be dragged through court to be forced to pay. And that could take months and months and be really expensive. Okay? The parenting plan is also called an allocation judgment. And the reason is that it allocates the parental responsibilities over the child between the parties. Okay, it really can go one of a couple ways. The allocation judgment can talk about 50-50 decision making. It can be all mom decision making. It can be all dad decision making. It can be written as, well, mom's going to make the decisions, but she's going to run it by dad first, which is kind of a toothless way to say it's mom's decision making. Okay, and it also talks about not only the decision making, it talks about where the child's going to live. Okay, we used to call this custody. We don't anymore. Okay, we call it parenting time. Like, I have parenting time with my child this coming week. Okay, it's not I have visitation with my child this coming week. We changed all this nomenclature. It doesn't really matter. But the bottom line is that this, for purposes of today's video, the allocation judgment decides where the kids are living, who's going to see them when, and also who calls the shots about the kids. And that's in the four main areas of life that aren't having to do with, like, are you going to brush your teeth and stuff. Those day-to-day routine decision making, like, am I going to keep the kids up late watching Netflix and, not brushing their teeth and drinking Mountain Dew, or am I going to give them a nice healthy meal and put them to bed at 9 o'clock after they say their prayers? There's differences in parenting styles, and that is usually those day-to-day decisions are done by the person that's actually got the kids in possession of the child right then. But the big decisions in the areas of extracurriculars, religion, school, and healthcare, that's got to be put in this parenting plan. Anyway, as you can see, there's a lot to it. Give us a call if you need something. I'm Alan Lenczycki, your dry erase attorney. Thanks for watching.